I'm back. So that Amazon Prime thing, you just search Jason or Jason and Argonauts. You can find all sorts of different things in there, but that's not required. That's just something fun for those of you that are really interested in it. But the PowerPoint, that is required. You guys should definitely read that as you're completing the assignments this week. Let's continue. For many weeks and many months, Jason and his crew of bold adventurers sailed on the Argo. And when the wind failed or when they were in dangerous waters, they took to their oars and they guided their ship through each perilous situation. They visited many islands and encountered many strange creatures along the way. They fought with a band of hideous giants, each having 6 hands. They escaped from water nymphs who wanted to imprison them in their crystal caves. They slew the vicious harpies, those frightful flying creatures with hooked beaks and iron claws and shrieking cries. They navigated their way through the treacherous wandering rocks, which would suddenly crash together when a ship tried to pass between them. After all these and other adventures as well, the Argonauts finally arrived in Colchis and were brought to the palace of the king. Now the king, whose name was Aeetes, had 2 children, a little boy of whom he was very fond, and a dark-eyed, dark-haired teenage daughter named Medea, who was a witch and had many magical ways about her. Aeetes was seated on his throne with his little son at his feet, and Medea at his right hand, when the Argonauts were brought before him. Jason was asked what his business was in Colchis, and when he answered that he had come to take the golden fleece back to Greece, the king laughed aloud and said, "Ha! You've come on a very bold mission, but the fleece of gold can be won only by those of great courage. And if you can perform 3 tasks I set out for you, only then will I know that such courage is yours, and only then will I allow you to carry away the fleece." Now the tone in which the king made this challenge showed that he was not afraid of losing the golden fleece, but Jason was not discouraged, and he asked the king to tell him about the 3 tasks that he had to perform. "The first task," the king replied, "is to yoke 2 fierce, fire-breathing bulls to the plow, and with them to till 4 acres of land. The next is to sow the field with dragon's teeth, and to conquer all the armed warriors that will then spring up out of the earth from these teeth. And the third is to kill the fierce dragon that guards the golden fleece in the woods, but who never sleeps by night or by day. When you have succeeded in doing these 3 things, you may take the golden fleece back with you to Greece." Having said this to Jason, the king dismissed all the Argonauts with a wave of his hand. Although Jason would not let the king see it, he was just a little discouraged when he heard what the tasks were. He walked away from the palace down towards the shore where the Argo was anchored, and he thought of Juno's promise, and he wished that she would help him now. When he came to the ship, he found that there was help waiting him. For Medea, the king's daughter, had fallen deeply in love with him, and had come to talk with him and offer him her aid. She promised to tell Jason certain secrets that would help him do the task that seemed so impossible, if, in return, he would make her his wife and take her back with him to his home in Greece. It may seem strange that Medea was willing to leave her home and all the people who loved her, to go so far away with this stranger. Indeed, the girl herself hardly knew why she did it. But the truth was that Juno had not forgotten her promise to help Jason, and the only way she could do it was by making Medea love him so much that she would be willing to give up everything for his sake. And so it really was Juno who was helping Jason. The king's daughter gave Jason a magic potion that had the power to protect whoever was anointed with it from harm by either swords or by fire. That would be a pretty good potion to have. And then she told him just what he must do to overcome the fierce bulls and the armed men. After she left him, he paced up and down the seashore for a long time, thinking about Medea and about the tasks the morrow would bring. Remember, I have a PowerPoint that has a lot of helpful hints and little helpful details in it that'll make this understanding this a little bit easier for you. One thing I do want to point out though is this idea that when you plant dragon's teeth, that soldiers spring up out of the ground. This happens in more than one myth among the Greeks. And well, that's all for today. Make sure you answer the question, do what you're supposed to do. Coronavirus delendus est. Bye.